We got a tank now. Let's start moving. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 3 of Sandland. So last time was all about procuring new transportation. After, the bandits messed up our previous ride, we ended up getting a tank. And a pretty nice one too. High quality, new model, but still able to be driven by Sheriff Rao. And although we came into contact with and had to have a little bit of a fight, I guess you could call it, not much of a fight, but still, against the king's army, we managed to outsmart them and get away. Plus, Beelzebub and Thief's demon strength kind of helped as well. So now we got a tank. Though, obviously, the tank is going to be targeted. So they're always going to have a little bit of a target on their back with this one. That's just gonna happen. I'm excited to see where this is going to go, though, because I think they're adding stuff to the story that wasn't originally in the manga. The manga was pretty short. It was like this little one-shot thing. It wasn't long. It wasn't meant to be like super in depth. I think that they're like developing it more than it was originally shown to be. Which, I mean, in order to have enough for a full core season, that kind of makes sense. And so far everything's been really good. Any additions, anything that's newly added or whatnot, feels like it's so like built into the world that it doesn't come across as unnatural or weird or unbelievable to this world and these characters. So it's almost kind of hard to tell what might be added in. In fact, I only know that like stuff is being developed in a little more because I've heard it mentioned in your boy Roshi's reactions as I've been watching those. So yeah, curious to see how that continues to develop. And if anything's going to be like super obvious to me. Maybe not. Knowing me, who knows. But yeah, this has been just really good so far. I love the voices for these characters especially. Um, and I'm just really excited to see what they do with it, where they go, and how much cool action we're gonna get, how many just fun moments. I just want to see more of this. It's like I would consider this a comfort show for me right now. It's like the nostalgia mixed with just the fun factor. It's like this is just something that's just like really comforting me lately. Every time it reaches Tuesday, I just gonna get more and more excited for each of these episodes because it's something that I'm just so looking forward to now. And that's awesome. That's the kind of feeling I want to feel on this channel with anything I react to. So, huge positive right there. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I just adore Beelzebub so much. Like, might be a little weird to hear a Christian talking about adoring the Prince of Demons and stuff. But it's like, one, it's fictional. It's a work of fiction. And two, it's like it's fun. It's cute. Beelzebub is adorable as shit. Like I'm not taking this that seriously. It's animation. Anyone who really gets up in arms about a series like being blasphemous or shit like that, it's like they really need to take a chill pill and just relax. It's not that serious. It's not the same as like if a show or the creator of a show does something really terrible or something. That's a completely different situation because it's like, oh, you don't want to support the show when its creator is like horrifically like fucked up, or if the show says or does something that gives a bad message to the viewers about human rights or shit. I don't know. You get the idea though. It's like that's a very different situation. Um, and in the end, both situations just kind of come down to one just simple truth: you can stop watching. If you don't like it for whatever reason, just don't watch it. A lot of people still just do not seem to get that. It's like, no, if I don't if I stop watching, I can't bitch about it. It's like, and then people really think like that, by the way. And then on top of it, you have the idiots out there who like try to act as if like, oh, this series has like hyper violence and stuff in it, so if people watch this, they're going to be hyper violent. Like, it doesn't work like that, for one. For two, a lot of these people bring it up for kids specifically. It's like a lot of the shows with like all of this hyper violence aren't for kids, by the way. Um, One of the big ones I have heard in the past months is people bitching about Has Been Hotel. It's like, oh, you're showing kids this series that tries to make the devil the hero and God the bad guy. It's like, one, that's not what the series is about. Two, this is not for kids. Just because it's animation does not mean it's for kids. Has Been Hotel is an adult series made for adults. It's just it's not for kids. Kids should not ever be watching Has Been Hotel. Do not show kids Has Been Hotel. And it's just insane to me that people say this shit and genuinely believe this shit too. But this series is not quite on that level, at least not right now. And either way, I don't think I've heard much of anyone actually complaining about this one. I don't think I've heard any like bitching and moaning about it. Of course, that also kind of comes into play because I barely hear anyone talking about this series, which is really disappointing. But pretty much everything I have heard, as few and far between as it has been positive. People are praising this series. People are really loving it. It's just not as widely known as it should be, which is wild too, because it's Akira Toriyama. Like, even ignoring the fact that he just passed away, like, that's one of the biggest names in manga and anime ever, and for good reason. And people just are like don't know about this series. That's inconceivable to me. That's so wild, and it actually reminds me of back when Carol and Tuesday first came out. It's like, oh hey, this is a Shinichiro Watanabe series. You know, the same guy who made fucking Cowboy Bebop, the same guy who made Samurai Champloo and Space Dandy, one of the big names out there, and yet no one knew about Carol and Tuesday. It just did not get the attention it deserved. And then it ended up being put on Netflix and was fucked over by that because Netflix doesn't advertise shit. On top of it, there was a massive, like, 6-month wait between the episodes airing in Japan and it coming to Netflix here in the West. It's just, like, really fucked over the entirety of that series. And I'm wondering if streaming networks and everything are the cause of this series just being so unknown as well, despite having a legendary creator. And a big video game coming out too. It's just wild to me. But either way, Hopefully this starts getting more attention as more anime YouTubers talk about it. I've talked about this before, but just gonna keep hoping for that. Uh, in the meantime, we have a lot of other stuff on this channel as well that is really cool to check out. We have 2 shows every day between Monday and Friday that I react to each week. I also do YouTube reactions on Mondays, and on Wednesdays currently we are streaming through Momodora Moonlit Farewell. Though we're going to be finishing that up pretty soon, so we'll be starting on some PS5 stuff. Every Saturday and Sunday, I upload reactions to movies, and those are also mostly donation rewards, but sometimes I'll put something in. I record them during the week as well. They're just uploaded on Saturday and Sunday. We have some other things that occasionally show up on the channel too, such as AMVs, countdown lists, so on and so forth. Just plenty of stuff on the channel, constantly shifting, changing, rearranging, so that everybody has something that they can get into. Hopefully, you'll find something you love, and I hope you enjoy your time here. But for now, we're going to get on with this reaction and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, I was not quite expecting it this early. I was thinking like halfway through the season. But part of that is also, like I said, I don't remember a lot of this series. Because I read the manga a long time ago. And I read it like once, maybe twice. So I don't have a huge amount of knowledge about how the story goes and everything about it, because it's been so long. I only have little bits of retained information. And I knew he had this backstory. I just, again, I thought it was like, I thought it was going to be further down the line. Maybe because of the fact that, you know, they're adding some stuff into this, adding some more developments and whatnot, and the manga was very straightforward and short. So maybe that's also why it kind of threw me off a little bit. But, like, I wouldn't have expected it to be this early either, just in general. I'm not complaining that it is. I think it works out fine. Especially with the fact that, you know, the military, of course, is going to put things out pretty quickly and things are going to be figured out. Now, the swimmers. I remember them, but I don't remember what their deal is. Because they talked about how they fought Beelzebub before and lost. And the Papa is talking about how he knows General Shiva and everything, and he was mentioning something about like having this rebellion stopped and everything. So really interesting information that I'm excited to learn about, I guess, again. But that's kind of a lot of this. Like I said, it's like, having read it so long ago, pretty much all of the information here is new to me. It's fresh again. Because it's not like with a series where it's like, oh, I watched this 10 years ago. This is longer than 10 years ago. Because when did this come out? I don't remember exactly, but like I read this like when it was in the Shonen Jump magazines here in the US. When was Sandland in Shonen Jump US? Sandland was first serialized in Shonen Jump magazine in North America in 2003. 21 years ago. I was a child when I read this. And the manga was also released in a single paperback volume because, again, it's short, in the United States on December 24th, Christmas Eve, interesting, 2003, and digitally on June 4th, 2013. So it wasn't released digitally until a decade later. But yeah, 2003, over 2 decades ago. I think there's a good enough reason for me to not remember much, because I read it in Shonen Jump when it was first published. Again, I used to collect those. I used to get those from the store. I got it from Shonen Jump, maybe not exactly right when it first came out, but shortly after at least. And then I I read it again at some point after that. I don't remember exactly how long, maybe 1 or 2 years after that, but it wasn't that long after. Because remember, keep in mind too, this is when I was still reading manga. Um, like this is I was I used to read manga quite a bit, but since then I've talked about this story before. I kind of like grew out of being able to enjoy it, and I don't know why, but I don't enjoy it anymore. It doesn't do anything for me, emotion or like enjoyment wise. And when I was in 2003, I was 11 years old. So I was in like middle school. And I might have read it again like at either the end of middle school, beginning of high school, something like that. Um but yeah, it's like it's been like 2 decades around that since I have read this. The fact that I remember as much as I do is surprising. The fact that like character designs and whatnot are not just familiar to me, but like I actively recognize. The fact that there's certain aspects of it that I remember, like in terms of the story, is really something to talk about. Because I don't have the best memory. And for something that, like, I was 11 when I first read, over 2 decades ago, it's like the fact that I remember almost anything is surprising. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about that it was that long ago. And so, yeah, I think that's what makes this as a reaction series so viable too, because I don't remember mostly anything. Um, it all comes as fresh to me, but there's also still that level of nostalgia. It has that level of nostalgia despite almost no memory of the events, and yet it feels so fresh at the same time. It's just it's a wild experience that unless you've gone through that kind of thing, I don't know if I could even begin to explain how that feels. Because it's like this has gotten me so excited and so hyped and so intensely emotional just from the nostalgia and everything. And it's also just really freaking good. So it's like even like rediscovering it now 2 decades later, it's just like it's just that good. I'm just enjoying it that much just from a pure entertainment level. And that's awesome. I love that it's like inciting this kind of reaction from me. That I can be this into it. That's entirely a positive. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. So let's actually talk about what happened in the episode because we haven't done that yet. We've been talking for almost 10 minutes just about how insane it is, this entire experience of rewatching this now. So yeah, we find out about Rao's backstory in this, or at least a part of it. He used to be known as General Shiva. He was like this big name, this big hero, and part of his heroics was this mission he carried out. He took out basically an entire race of people, on orders from the king's army, who he was, part of, and he just carried out the orders to wipe them out because he was led to believe they were, you know, bad, and that taking them out was saving Sandland. But he now finds out that the device they were working on was creating water. That the device would have saved Sandland, and by taking them out, they were kind of dooming it and just, saving the king's profits and whatnot. And when he finds this out, like, he goes through a crisis, and fairly so. Like, dude realizes that all of that was for nothing. Or even worse, that it was all for, like, ill will, that it was terrible and evil and wrong. This big mission that he had believed in, that he, wasn't the biggest fan of the king's army anymore, but still, that he believed he did good with, ends up being, like, that horrible, that atrocious of a, basically, war crime. It's like, that fucked him up. And especially because that blast killed his wife. The blast was so big, so impactful, that it sent these shockwaves across the desert and destroyed his home, killing his wife within it. This mission that killed his wife, he had been holding on to the idea that it was all for the better, that it was for the good of Sandland, because he didn't want to believe that his wife died for nothing. And instead, he finds out here that his wife's death was linked to this atrocious evil. Like, that's gonna fuck anyone up. Like, you kidding me? 30 years of this gaslit false memory that had been implanted, not really false memory, but false interpretation of the memory, all wiped out in a single moment once he finds out the truth. It's like, I don't blame him at all for feeling extremely down on himself after that, for being, like, that fucked up over it. Like, him hating himself after that is reasonable. Honestly, I don't blame him at all. Now, it wasn't his fault, not even in the slightest. He didn't know. He was ordered to do that. And as you would see, he even says it himself, he will never forgive the Supreme Commander for that. And we even see that the general is even starting to question things, because he's like, my father died in that blast. This is, what is this guy saying? Like, what is the truth behind all of this? That's a big deal, that even the general's questioning things now. It's so good. Like, I'm sorry, but oh my god. Like, Dragon Ball is definitely more iconic. That's just undeniable. But again, I kind of talked about it last time. I'm kind of not joking when I say that this is Toriyama's peak. That this is his best work. Like, Dragon Ball may be more iconic, but Dragon Ball does not have a story this damn good. it does not have character work this damn good. There's a lot that I do love about Dragon Ball, and a lot of characters I love, a lot of fights I love, but it is nothing compared to this. This episode just like blew me away, honestly. It was so good. The revelations, the questioning, the introductions to the swimmers, everything is just like really highlighting the quality of this story in this episode. And now that the villains know that they're searching for the spring and all, it's going to get much more intense from here on out. Like, they have a call out for their capture and arrest. The tank is now universally known about, but now you know the people are going to be questioning things. Like, oh, they've heard from the King's Army and stuff. Oh, this guy has done this horrible stuff and he's a bad guy. But they heard him speak himself and say, it's like, oh yeah, I stole this tank. I did stuff like that. But the other stuff you're hearing about, no, that wasn't me. And he's also putting this doubt into people's ears about this event, this big, massive, supposedly like world-saving event, and now he's putting down into people's minds about that even being, true. This is a big deal. For this to be episode fucking 3, I know it's only a 13 episode series, but still, like, my god. And then we see Beelzebub like absorbing the darkness. It's like getting ready for a fight and all. It's just like, oh my god, it's so good. It's so goddamn good. I am so goddamn into this. Every single goddamn week. This is just a highlight of my life right now. I'm not even kidding you. That is how much I am just in with this series. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of other great stuff on the channel too. I promise you, it's not just this. We do 2 series reactions every day, Monday through Friday. And on Mondays, we also do a YouTube reaction each week. On Wednesdays, we are currently live streaming Momodora Moonlit Farewell. And we'll be moving on to some PS5 games and stuff down the line. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded earlier on in the week, but they're posted during the weekends. We also do occasional other stuff, such as AMVs or countdown lists or various other things like that. But reactions are kind of our bread and butter. It's what we focus on, and things shift and change and update enough to where there's always something for everyone. But yeah, I would love to hear, nonetheless, your thoughts on this episode of Sandland. So let me know down in the comments below. As always, no spoilers, because I know more episodes than this are out currently. And because I am, kind of experiencing this again for the first time, which is something you can almost never say, I do not want to be spoiled. But yeah, tell me your thoughts on episode 3 down in the comments. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.